right, so the Bengals season is still technically alive as they improve to 5-8 with a 27-20 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. It took another unreal effort from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but the Bengals did in fact win this game. And of course, the question that is just on my mind, on everybody's mind at the conclusion of this game is, why the hell did the Bengals not just extend Jamar Chase this past offseason? Jamar Chase already has the record this season for most receiving yards in a Bengals, in Bengals receiver in a single season. And at 15 total touchdowns after tonight, he is 2 away from tying Carl Pickens' franchise record of 17 in a season and 3 away from setting the record. Regardless of whether or not the Bengals make the playoffs this year, Jamar Chase is having the single greatest wide receiver season in the history of the Bengals franchise, and this team had the opportunity to extend him this past offseason and waited. And the price has gone up. We've seen this across all pro sports. Look at the contract Juan Soto just got. The price of athletes on your team, staying on your team, joining your team, isn't going down. Jamar Chase is going to break the bank. He is going to break Justin Jefferson's, contract extension. Jamar Chase has a case for being the best wide receiver in football. You talk about lightning in a bottle. You talk about explosiveness. You talk about can take a curl route 40 yards for a touchdown to win you the game on Monday Night Football. You're talking about Jamar Chase. And you talk about a guy who not only is valuable to your franchise because of that, but is your quarterback's best friend, your quarterback's college teammate. Perhaps the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFL today, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Why would you have not kept that together this offseason, this past offseason, and extended him? Instead, you waited, and you're going to pay the price for it. Because the Bengals are going to have to either, 1, run Jamar Chase his money, or 2, and I can't even believe they can't even be entertaining this, but lose out on him? No. Now, for the Bengals' sake, this game as a whole, listen, it was the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase show. Jamar Chase, 14 receptions, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow, 33 of 44 passing, 369 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception, and a 112 passer rating. These guys are both no doubt top 5 at their position. Jamar Chase, top 2. Joe Burrow, top 5, top 4 probably. And you just think back to the Bengals games at the beginning of the season, man, where they lost to the Patriots. And the Commanders' loss doesn't look as bad now, but a winnable game. And you think, man, this team's 2-7 in 1-score games. 2-7. You just flip some of those the other way, and this team could go to the playoffs. You just have a little bit better of a defense, and this team could be a Super Bowl contender. And to even have an opportunity to get into the playoffs at this point, and it's just that, an opportunity, they have to run the table. Titans, Browns, Broncos, Steelers. Not impossible. Not necessarily probable. But even at that, you also need the Broncos to go 1-3. And one of those losses has to be to you, obviously. They can't lose that game. They have the Chargers and the Chiefs and the Colts. So, listen, I don't want to give any false hope to Bengals fans, but the Broncos don't have the easiest month ahead of them. The Bengals don't have the hardest month ahead of them. It's not over. And I'll tell you what, man, you get to the dance. If you're the Bengals, and maybe you make something happen. Maybe you make some plays. But more importantly, as I look ahead to next year, Jamar Chase has to be paid. T. Higgins is going to be gone. Chase Brown looks like the real deal. Chase Brown looks legit. Probably got to draft another wide receiver. I'm not sure if I feel great about Yoshivas as my number 2. Jermaine Burton's a guy that they drafted. Maybe he pans out. But the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase quarterback wide receiver duo is bar none the best in the NFL. And will continue to be for the next half decade. Truthfully, I feel that way. They just have to clean up the team around them. I know the ownership is generally cheap. We'll see about the head coaching situation. We'll see how the next month plays out for Cincinnati. But one thing I know for sure is this team has absolutely no choice but to pay Jamar Chase, pay him heavy, and keep that duo together. Because this isn't the first time that Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have carried you to wins this year. Hell, this was Jamar Chase's third best game on the season, statistically. And the guy is having a lights out year. He is right there in conversations with Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley for Offensive Player of the Year. He's going to have the greatest season a receiver has ever had in a Bengals uniform this year. You know, you talk about players, shining in a contract year. There's no better example than what Jamar Chase is doing this season. Can the Bengals do the improbable and sneak into the playoffs? Maybe. I have my doubts. But if they do, man, it's like the Rams. When that offense is hitting its peak, they're hard to stop. At 5-8, they're not, they could, if they were 7-6 like the Rams, you'd hear a lot more. The Bengals, sneaky, be the first 7 seed to win the Super Bowl. You'd hear that chatter. But at 5-8, it feels almost insurmountable. But at least you got some great talent. You got the stars. You got to build the team around them now. And for the Cowboys, man, they did what they could with Cooper Rush. The season is dead without Dak Prescott. I think every Cowboys fan knows that. Losing this game and moving up in the draft order, probably for the best if you're a Cowboys fan. There's obviously the questions about, is Mike McCarthy coming back next year? Do we pay Micah Parsons? If so, paying Dak, CD, and Micah, can we field a good enough roster around these guys? And we could run around and, go back and forth on these questions for the next month every time the Cowboys play. The answer is we'll see, truthfully. As long as Jerry Jones is the owner of the Cowboys and the de facto GM, I have my doubts. I have my reservations about what this team could be. But there is talent. Trayvon Diggs did a really good job against T. Higgins tonight. There is a bit of a pass rush outside of Michael Parsons. Rico Dowdle looks like a guy that you could believe in at running back for the future. Had over 100 yards tonight. Now it was the Bengals, so take that with a grain of salt. Kevontae Turpin, the most exciting return man in football. Best kicker in football in Aubrey. So, there's certainly pieces for Dallas to be excited about. And if Dak played the full year, they're probably battling for a playoff spot, for sure. But for Dallas, it's kind of, they're in that weird middle purgatory of they're going to be too good to get a top 5 pick, but probably bad enough to hover around that 10 spot. It's just a matter of what do you do with it? And can you competently draft from that same spot in the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round, to fill out a roster good enough to not only give you the luxury of signing Micah Parsons, but give you the ability to pay your 3 superstars and compete for Super Bowls? You bring in the right head coach for the job. Dallas has a lot of question marks this offseason. Each and every game that they play at this point is kind of going to look the same. Cooper Rush is going to be a good backup, not a great backup. Cooper Rush is going to have his limitations. And, they're going to be in close games. But odds are that they don't win many of them if you're the Cowboys. I'm still just in awe of the performance we saw from Jamar Chase. How they didn't pay him, I don't know. But now he's going to basically have him at gunpoint when it comes to run me my money. And they're going to have to. The guy is going to make absolute bank. And he might be the best wide receiver in football. I think he's the most explosive. I think that's for sure. So, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, get it done on Monday Night Football. If anybody watched that Simpsons version, let me know. Let me know how that was. I did not partake in that. Tuesday tier list out tomorrow. Week 13 reactions already live on the channel. Appreciate all the support. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.